Good afternoon, everyone. I am discussing the distribution of environmental resources. There is environmental resources encompassing both renewable, like solar energy, water, biomass, and non-renewable, like fossil fuels and minerals resources, are not uniformly distributed across the globe. This uneven distribution has profound implication for global economies, political instability, and environmental resources. Sa madaling salita, ang environmental resources na binubuo ng renewable at non-renewable ay hindi na distribute ng pantay across the globe. Number one factor influencing resource distribution: geological process. The formation of mineral deposits, fossil fuels, and fertile soil is governed by geological processes such as plate tectonics, volcanic activity, and sedimentation. This results in localized concentration of certain resources while other areas remain deficient. Ang pagbuo ng mga mineral deposit, fossil fuels at mayabong na lupa ay dahil sa mga prosesong geological tulad ng paggalaw ng plate tectonic, volcanic activity, at sedimentation. Number two factors influencing resource distribution is climatic condition. Climate plays a crucial role in determining the distribution of renewable resources. Temperature, precipitation, and sunlight intensity directly influence the productivity of ecosystem and the availability of resources like water, biomass, and solar energy. So, dito, ang temperatura ay nagkakaroon ng crucial role in determining the distribution of renewable resources. Nakaka-impluwensya ito sa distribution ng mga nababagong yaman. Number 3, historical factors. Human activities over centuries have significantly altered the distribution of resources. Historical patterns of resource extraction, industrialization, and land use have led to localized depletion of resources and environmental degradation in some areas, while others remain relatively untouched. Ang mga gawain ng tao tulad ng pagkuha ng likas na yaman, industrialization, at paggamit ng lupa ay nagbago sa distribution ng mga yaman. Distribution of key resources. The number one resources is water. Freshwater resources are unevenly distributed, with some regions experiencing water abundance, like the Amazon basin, and the others facing severe water stress, like parts of the Middle East and Africa. Access to clean drinking water remains a major challenge, exacerbating inequalities and impacting public health. Katulad na lang ng mga rehiyon tulad ng Amazon Basin, sila yung may saganang tubig, samantalang ang ibang rehiyon tulad ng Middle East at Africa ay nakakaranas ng matinding kakulangan ng tubig. Hanggang ngayon, access sa malinis na tubig na kailangang inumin ay major global challenge pa din. Dito mo mapapakita na mayroong inequalities and magkakaroon ito ng malaking impact sa public health. Number 2, key resources. Fossil fuels. Concentration of fossil fuels like coal, oil, and natural gas are geographically clustered. The Middle East holds significant oil reserves, while North America and Asia have substantial oil and natural gas deposits. This uneven distribution has significant geopolitical implications, influencing international relations and energy. So, dito, ang Middle East ay mayaman sa langis, samantalang ang North America at Asia ay malaking deposito ng carbon at natural gases. Dito talaga na papatunayan na ang distribution ng mga key resources ay hindi pantay dahil sa mga nabanggit ko kanina. Number 3, minerals. Mineral resources are also evenly distributed, with certain regions possessing rich deposit of specific minerals. For example, South Africa is known for its gold and platinum reserve, while Australia is a major producer of iron ore. Dito, ang South Africa ay kilala sa sila ay number 1 na kilala ang South Africa ay kilala sa mga reserba na ginto at platinum. Samantalang ang Australia ay isang malaking producer ng iron ore. Dito mapapakita na ang bawat country ay may kakulangan at may saganang minerals. Katulad nitong si South Africa at si Australia na both may gold at platinum, at si Australia naman ay mayaman sa iron ore. Number 3. Another is renewable energy resources. The distribution of renewable energy resources like solar and wind energy is influenced by climatic factors. Regions with high solar irradiance are suitable for solar power generation, while areas with consistent winds are ideal for wind energy. However, the development and utilization of renewable energy technologies are not equally distributed, reflecting technological, economic, and political factors. Ang distribution ng renewable energy ay nakadepende sa klima. For example, sa mga regions na may high solar irradiance, sila ay suitable para sa solar power generation. Samantalang ang mga regions naman na consistent with winds is ideal for wind energy. Pero yung mga development ng renewable energy na to ay not equally distributed, na nagre-reflect sa technological, economic, and political factors. Consequences of uneven distribution. Number 1 is economic inequality. Regions with abundant resources often experience high economic development. Sila yung mga may mataas na economic development, yung mga may abundant resources, while resource-scarce region may lag behind. Sila naman yung mga region na naiiwan sa progress. This can lead to economic disparities and social unrest. Number 2, geopolitical conflicts. Competition for scarce resources, particularly water and fossil fuels, can lead to geopolitical tension and conflicts between nations. Ang kompetisyon para sa mga kaunting yaman ay maaaring magdulot ng tensyon at salungatan sa pagitan ng mga bansa. Ito yung magiging epekto ng geopolitical conflicts. Environmental degradation. Uneven resource extraction can lead to environmental damage in resource-rich areas, including deforestation, pollution, and habitat loss. Ang hindi pantay na pagkuha ng mga likas na yaman ay maaaring magdulot ng pagkasira ng kapaligiran, magkaroon ng pollution at pagkawala ng tahanan ng mga hayop na naninirahan sa kagubatan. Social injustice. Unequal access to essential resources like clean water and fertile land can exacerbate social inequalities and marginalize vulnerable population. Ang hindi pantay na access sa mga mahalagang yaman ay maaaring magpalala ng mga inequality sa lipunan. And dun po nagtatapos ang aking report. And here are some quotes na maaari nating tandaan. Protecting our environment is not just about preserving nature. It's about ensuring a just and equitable distribution of its resources for all. Maraming salamat po. Have a good day ahead of you.
Today, I will be discussing agricultural geography. First, what is agricultural geography? Agricultural geography studies where farming happens and how it affects and is affected by its surroundings. It examines key aspects like land use, farming methods, food production, environmental consequences, and socio-economic conditions. We have 4 types of farming system. Number 1, subsistence farming. Farmers grow crops primarily to feed themselves and their families, with little surplus for sale. Ang layunin ng subsistence farming ay ang mapakain ang kanilang mga pamilya. So, unti lang ang kanilang naaani. Makakapagbenta lang sila kung may sobra. Commercial farming. Farming is conducted primarily for profit, producing large quantities of crops or livestock for sale in markets. Ang layunin naman ng commercial farming is ang pagkita ng malaking pera. Nagtatanim sila ng marami para maibenta sila sa palengke. Intensive farming. High inputs of labor, capital, or fertilizer are used to maximize yields per unit of land. Sa madaling salita, ang intensive farming ay isang paraan ng pagsasaka kung saan pinapataas ang ani ng isang maliit na lugar sa pamamagitan ng paggamit ng maraming tao para magtrabaho, pera sa mga kagamitan at pataba or fertilizer. Mas maraming input, mas maraming output. Extensive farming. Relatively low inputs are used, with lower yields per unit of land, but often larger land areas. Ito ay isang uri ng pagsasaka kung saan maliit lang ang ginagasto sa paggawa, pera at pataba. Mas malawak ang ginagamit na lupa pero mas maliit ang ani kada bahagi ng lupa. Like sa intensive farming, palawakin ang sakahan para makakuha ng sapat na ani. Key factors influencing agricultural practices. Climate and weather patterns. Ang climate and weather patterns ay tinutukoy nito kung anong pananim at kung kailan ito dapat itanim. Ang pagbabago sa klima at hindi inaasahang mga bagyo ay pwedeng makaapekto sa ani at sa kabuhayan ng mga magsasaka. Soil quality and land availability. Magandang lupa ang kailangan para sa masaganang ani. Kung maliit lang ang lupa, kailangan pag-isipang mabuti kung ano ang dapat itanim para kumita ng malaki. Technological advancement. Ang mga bagong teknolohiya gaya ng mechanization, biotechnology like tractors, harvester, ay nakakatulong para mapabilis at mapadami ang ani. Dahil dito, mas mabilis at mas madali ang pagsasaka at mas malaki ang kita ng mga magsasaka. Economic factors. Ang presyo ng mga pananim sa palengke at ang mga programa ng gobyerno ay nakaka-impluwensya sa kung ano ang itatanim ng mga magsasaka. Kung mataas ang presyo ng isang produkto, mas maraming magsasaka ang magtatanim nito. Social and cultural factors. Ang mga tradisyon at ang bilang ng mga manggagawa ay may malaking epekto sa mga desisyon sa pagsasaka. Halimbawa, ang kakulangan ng mga manggagawa ay maaaring humantong sa pagpili ng mga pananim na hindi nangangailangan ng mas masinsinang pag-aalaga. Environmental impacts of agriculture. Deforestation and habitat loss. Ang pagputol ng mga puno ay nakakasira ng mga tirahan ng mga hayop at halaman. Nawawala ang mga puno, kaya nagiging tuyo ang lupa at madaling bahain. Soil degradation and erosion. Kapag paulit-ulit ang paggamit ng lupa sa pagsasaka, ay nagpapabagal sa lupa at nagiging sanhi ng pagguho nito. Nawawala ng sustansya ang lupa kaya't hindi na ito maganda para sa pagtatanim. Water pollution from fertilizer and pesticides. Ang fertilizer and pesticides na ginagamit sa pagsasaka ay nakaka-pollute sa tubig. Nakakasama ito sa mga isda, halaman at sa mga tao na umiinom ng contaminated waters. Greenhouse gas emission. Ang pagsasaka ay naglalabas ng mga gas na nagpapainit sa mundo mula sa mga hayop at pataba. Ito ay nakadaragdag sa problema ng pagbabago ng klima. Strategies for sustainable agriculture. Ang organic farming at agroforestry ay mga paraan para mabawasan ang masamang epekto ng pagsasaka sa kalikasan. Gumagamit ang mga ito ng natural na paraan para maging produktibo ang pananim at maprotektahan ang kapaligiran. Challenges and future trends in agriculture. Climate change and its impact on agricultural productivity. Nagbabago ang klima dahil sa pag-init ng mundo na nakakapekto sa ani ng pananim. Mas madalas ang matinding bagyo at tagtuyot kaya nababawasan ang production ng pagkain. Food security and population growth. Food security and population growth. Dumadami ang tao sa mundo kaya kailangan natin ng mas maraming pagkain. Ang food security o ang pagkakaroon ng sapat na pagkain para sa lahat ay nagiging mahirap dahil dito. Kailangan ng mas produktibong paraan ng pagsasaka para matugunan ang lumalaking pangangailangan. Technological innovations. Ang mga bagong teknolohiya gaya ng precision agriculture at vertical farming ay tumutulong sa mas mahusay at mas produktibong pagsasaka. Makakapag-ani ng mas maraming pagkain gamit ang mga kaunting lupa at tubig at mababawasan ang paggamit ng mga kemikal. Sustainable agriculture and its role in environmental protection. Ang sustainable agriculture ay naglalayong mapanatili ang kalikasan habang nagpaparami ng pagkain. Pinoprotektahan nito ang lupa, tubig at biodiversity at pinabawasan ang pollution. In conclusion, agricultural geography provides a crucial framework for understanding the complex interplay between human activities, environmental factors, and agricultural practices. Addressing the challenges of climate change, food security, and environmental sustainability requires innovative approaches and a holistic perspective, integrating technological advancement with sustainable agricultural method. The future of agriculture hinges on balancing the need for increased food production with the imperative to protect our planet's resources. And that's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I am Giselle P. Santiago from BSED 214 and today I will be discussing one of the most crucial global frameworks that guides our actions toward a better future, the Sustainable Development Goals or also known as the SDGs. So first, let us define kung ano nga ba ang SDG. The Sustainable Development Goals were launched by the United Nations in 2015 as part of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. And there are 17 SDGs and they aim to achieve peace and prosperity for people and the planet, and they are tackling challenges like poverty, inequality, climate change, and also environmental degradation. So these goals connect the environmental, social, and economic aspects of development, reminding us that everything is interconnected. So now let me walk you through the 17 SDGs, their importance and example of each. So number one is no poverty. So the number one goal is that no poverty, and it aims to end poverty in all forms by ensuring social protection, equal opportunities, and access to resources. So this goal aims to eliminate extreme poverty worldwide by providing financial support and social protection, and also opportunities for people to improve their economic status. And this goal is it ensures access to basic needs like food, healthcare, and education. For example, is helping low-income families by providing financial aid, free education, or job opportunities. Like, for example, is a government giving cash assistance to poor families so they can buy food and basic needs, or yung tinatawag natin na 4 piece. And the number two goal is the zero hunger and focuses on achieving food security, improving nutrition, and promoting sustainable agriculture. So it focuses on ending hunger and malnutrition by promoting sustainable agriculture, improving food production, and ensuring everyone has access to nutritious food. And also, it supports farmers and rural development to prevent food shortages. So, for example, is ensuring people have enough nutritious food through farming programs and food donation, like a school providing free meals to students to prevent hunger and improve learning, or yung tinatawag din natin na feeding programs. Next is the goal number three, good health and well-being. So ensures healthy lives and promotes well-being for all at all ages by improving healthcare access and reducing diseases. So in this goal, it ensures people have access to quality healthcare, vaccines, and medicines to prevent diseases, and it improve life expectancy, and it also promotes mental health, reducing risk of epidemics, and improving sanitation. So, for example, is making healthcare available and affordable to prevent disease. Like, for example, is the vaccination programs that protect children from measles and polio. And next, goal number four, the quality education, and it guarantees inclusive and equitable education, ensuring lifelong learning opportunities for everyone. So, dito naman sa quality education is nag-aim siya to provide free, inclusive, and equitable education for all, ensuring students acquire skills necessary for employment and personal growth. Also, nagpo-focus din siya on eliminating disparities in education based on gender and economic status. So, for example, is giving every child access to good education regardless of their background. For example, charity providing free school supplies, and scholarships to poor students. Yan. So, the goal number five, gender equality, promotes equal rights for women and girls, ensuring freedom from discrimination and violence. So, in this goal, um, it works to end discrimination and violence against women and girls, ensuring equal opportunities in education, work, and leadership. Also, it promotes laws and policies that support gender rights and inclusion. So, for example, ensuring every woman and man have the same opportunities in work, education, and leadership. For example, natin dito is a company hiring both men and women for leadership roles based on skills and not based on gender. The goal number 6, the clean water and sanitation, aims to provide universal access to safe water and sanitation while managing water resources sustainably. So, in this goal, it ensures everyone has rather access to safe drinking water and proper sanitation facilities and preventing waterborne diseases. It also promotes the sustainable management of water resources. For example, is providing clean drinking water and proper toilets to prevent diseases, like a community installing water pumps so people don't have to walk long distances for clean water. Yan. So the next goal is affordable and clean energy, and nagfo-focus siya sa um, ensuring access to modern, reliable, and sustainable energy for all. So it focuses on providing reliable and sustainable energy sources such as solar, wind power. Oh, sorry for the notification. Solar, wind power, to, to reduce rather the dependence on fossil fuels, and it aims to make energy affordable for households and industries. So the goal number 8, decent work and economic growth. Ay, no muna. Magbibigay muna ako ng example sa goal number 7. So, one of the example of this is using renewable energy sources like solar and wind to reduce pollution. Like for example, installing solar panels in villages with no electricity. Yeah. So, balik tayo sa goal number 8, the decent work and economic growth. It promotes sustainable economic growth, productive employment, and decent work for everyone. So, dito, it supports job creation, fair wages, and safe working conditions to promote economic stability. And it also focuses on innovation, entrepreneurship, and sustainable industries. For example, creating jobs with fair wages and safe working conditions, like a company paying workers fair salaries and providing benefits like health insurance. The goal number 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. So, support sustainable industrialization, resilient infrastructure, and innovation. So, in this goal, like, i-encourage siya sa development of modern infrastructure, sorry, such as roads, bridges, and technology to support economic growth, and it promotes research and sustainable industrialization. For example, is building strong roads, bridges, and internet access to boost progress, like um, a rural area getting better roads to help farmers transport their crops to the market. And ang goal number 10, reduce inequalities. So, works towards reducing inequality within and among countries by ensuring equal opportunities. So, it aims to decrease the gap between the rich and the poor by promoting equal opportunities, access to resources, and fair wages. It also ensures that marginalized communities are given equal rights and representation. Um, for example, giving equal opportunities to all people no matter their background, like a university offering scholarships to students from low income families. Goal number 11, the sustainable cities and communities aims to make cities inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. So it focuses on making cities livable by improving housing, transportation, waste management, and reducing pollution. Sorry for the background noise. So also, it promotes urban planning that supports environmental sustainability. For example, is making cities clean, safe, and accessible for everyone. Like a city creating bike lanes and green parks for better transportation and clean air. The goal number 12, responsible consumption and production, encourages sustainable practices in production and consumption to reduce environmental impact. So, in this goal, um, encourages businesses and consumers to adopt sustainable practices by reducing waste, recycling materials, and using resources efficiently. It also aims to decrease pollution from industries and households. For example, is reducing waste by reusing and recycling materials like a store using paper bags instead of plastic to reduce pollution. Goal number 13, climate action. So urges urgent action to combat climate change and its effect through global cooperation. So, in this climate action, it calls for immediate action to address climate change by reducing carbon emissions, supporting renewable energy, and protecting the environment. It encourages countries to implement policies that reduce global warming. For example, is taking action to slow down climate change like reducing carbon emissions. So, a city planting trees to absorb carbon dioxide and improve air quality is one example of this goal. Goal number 14, life below water, focuses on conserving marine life and promoting sustainable use of oceans and marine resources. So, it aims to protect marine life by preventing ocean pollution, overfishing, and destruction of coral reefs. It promotes sustainable fishing and responsible use of ocean resources. Example, protecting oceans and marine life from pollution and overfishing, like a beach cleanup drive to remove plastic waste from the ocean. Okay, the third to the last goal, life on land, aims to protect and restore ecosystems, forests, and biodiversity to prevent land degradation. So it focuses on preserving forests, biodiversity, and ecosystems, and it aims to prevent deforestation, desertification, and protect endangered species to maintain a balanced environment. For example, protecting forest wildlife and natural habits. SK officials planting trees to restore a damaged forest is one of example of this. The second to the last goal, the goal number 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions, advocates for peaceful societies, accountable institutions, and access to justice for all. Nagpo-promote siya in fair legal systems, human rights, and protection against violence and corruption. Also, it ensures that government and institutions are accountable, transparent, and work for the welfare of people. Promoting justice, human rights, and fair governance. Like, for example, a country making laws to protect children from abuse and exploitation. And the last but not the least, goal number 17, partnership for the goals. It strengthens global partnerships to mobilize resources and support sustainable development. So, in this goal encourages international cooperation between governments, businesses, and organizations to achieve sustainable development, and it focuses on sharing resources, technologies, and financial support to help all countries progress. So countries and organizations working together to solve global issue, for example, the United Nations and different countries providing food aid to areas affected by disaster. Okay, so to sum it up, the Sustainable Development Goals serves as a blueprint for a better and more sustainable future. Achieving them requires teamwork, commitment, and awareness from all of us. So as students, as a student, we can contribute through simple acts like spreading awareness, joining community efforts, and making sustainable choices. So together, we can build a world that is fair, just, and livable for all. And yun lang. Thank you, and may we all take part in making these goals a reality. Goodbye, everyone, and God bless.
Good day everyone. Today, I will be discussing environmental disturbance in the biosphere. This topic is important because these disturbances affect ecosystem, animals, and even us humans. There are two types of environmental disturbances. The first is the natural disturbances like wildfires, floods, and hurricanes. This happens naturally and can reshape the land. The second is the human-made or anthropogenic disturbances, like deforestation, pollution, and urbanization. Example of this is kapag pinuputol natin ang mga puno sa kagubatan ay nawawalang mga tirahan ng mga hayop. Then, one major disturbances is climate change. As the climate change slowly over time, it also change rainfall, temperature, and seasons. This affects where plants and animals can live. Dahil sa pabago-bagong panahon, nahihirapan ang mga hayop at halaman na makibagay. An example nito is the coral bleaching caused by warming oceans. Next, we are going to discuss the effects on biodiversity. Environmental disturbances can affect biodiversity in three big ways. The first one is species extinction. Disturbances can lead to loss of habitat and food sources, pushing vulnerable species to extinction and reducing overall biodiversity, which is animals lose their homes and food. Second, invasive species. Disturbances may create opportunity for invasive species to thrive, outcompeting natural species and altering ecosystem irreversibly. New species come in and take over, harming the local one. Then the third is disruption of ecological interaction, which is the changes in the environment can break down relationships between species, disrupting food chains and affecting ecosystem stability. The balance of who eat what gets broken. Then the next slide is ecosystem response to disturbances. but nature can fight back. The first one is resilience and recovery. Ecosystem can recover after disturbances, though recovery times vary. They recover over time kahit na masira sila, may kakayahan ang kalikasan na bumangon muli. Second is adaptive strategies. Species adapt through behavioral or sociological changes for survival. Animals and plants use adaptive strategies like hibernation or growing thicker fur. In ecological succession naman, ecosystem undergo succession leading to ecological renewal, which is yung ecosystem is slowly nagro-grow again. Then, mitigation and management strategies. What we can do to help. First one is conservation practices. Establishing protected areas and implementing conservation strategies can help minimize anthropogenic disturbances and preserve biodiversity, which is we need to protect the forests, rivers, and animals. The second is sustainable land use. Adopting sustainable agricultural and forestry practices promotes ecosystem health and reduce the impact of human activities on the environment, which is need natin na gamitin ng tama yung mga lupa at mga likas na yaman. Then, policy and education. Raising awareness and developing policies targeting environmental protection can foster a culture of conservation, encouraging responsible behavior toward nature. We need to teach the people and make strong law. Sa Pilipinas, meron tayong mga batas tulad ng RA 9003 para sa solid waste. Then the last is the solution and recommendation. In education and awareness, enhancing public knowledge about environmental responsibility. We need to teach others about the nature para alam nila kung paano pangalagaan yung likas na yaman na meron tayo. Then, second, conservation efforts, protecting natural habitats and endangered species through legislation and community engagement. Example nito is plant trees and protect animals. Then, in last naman is the sustainable practices. We need to promote renewable energy, eco-friendly agriculture, and sustainable urban planning. Example dito is solar power or organic farming. Kahit na maliit yung hakbang natin, malaking tulong ito sa kalikasan. Together, we can protect life on Earth. To end this presentation, let's remember one thing. The health of our biosphere reflects how we treat the Earth. In environmental disturbances, whether natural or caused by human, can harm not only animals and plants, but also our own future. But through awareness, actions, and cooperation, we can protect and restore our planet. Kahit sa simpleng hakbang tulad ng pagtatanim, pag-recycle at pag-iwas sa pollution, ay malaking tulong na sa kalikasan. Let's all do our part. Together we can build a healthier and greener world. Yun lang po. Maraming salamat.